Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The Sensex and the Nifty end in the green after a range-bound session. The Nifty manages to hold above 23,200. Mid-caps outperform the blue chips. The rupee regained some lost ground against the dollar after a dramatic rally. Indian currency gains more than 26 paise but remains above the 86 mark. Crude oil prices remain near 5-month highs with Brent hovering around $80 a barrel. India's trade deficit declines to a 3-month low of just under $22 billion in December. Exports remain largely steady even as they declined marginally year on year. The trade deficit is up 14% in the first 9 months of this financial year. Tata Power is likely to have submitted bids to acquire a majority stake in 2 state-run power distribution companies in UP. The state government had invited bids earlier this week. That's an exclusive. The Union Secretary for Electronics and IT says critical equipment meant for manufacturers in India and global companies like Foxconn is being held up at Chinese ports for several months. Electronic industry fears any further disruption could jeopardize production and expansion plans. Prime Minister Modi commissions 3 Navy warships in Mumbai, says India has become a major maritime power and is being recognized as a reliable and responsible partner. This is the first time in the nation's history a destroyer, a frigate and a submarine, all made in India, have been commissioned together. TVS Motors leads Bajaj Auto in the electric scooter race in the first 15 days of the new year. Ola Electric remains in 3rd place and announces fresh discounts to bolster its sales. Hopes for a ceasefire in Gaza rise as negotiators say Israel and Hamas are at the closest point to strike a deal, but Israel continues to bomb Gaza, killing 24 people overnight. 5 days before he takes office as US President, Donald Trump announces he will create an external revenue service to collect tariffs from foreign countries, as other nations will finally pay their fair share. The US securities market regulator sues Elon Musk for failing to properly disclose his Twitter ownership. The regulator alleges Musk amassed Twitter shares in secrecy that allowed him to buy the microblogging company at artificially low prices. Former Delhi Chief Minister and AAP Supremo Arvind Kejriwal files his nomination papers from the New Delhi constituency. He will take on Congress's Sandeep Dixit and BJP's Parvesh Verma. The Home Ministry gives ED the go-ahead to prosecute Kejriwal over alleged irregularities in the liquor excise policy case. All of that and more coming up for you in just a bit, but on to the market action of the day. The Dalal Street ended in the green for the second day in a row in what was a range-bound session. The Nifty and the Sensex ended mildly higher, with the Nifty managing to hold on to levels above 23,300. So that is where the Nifty closed flat, but in the green. The Sensex up by 200 points. The Nifty Bank again in positive territory, but an absolute flat close. Mid-caps higher by about 0.5% or so. So that's the story as far as the markets go. Now, Jonathan Garner of Morgan Stanley is bullish on India when compared to other Asian markets, even as he believes valuations are high. Take a look.
The weight of India in the EM index has actually been going up. And with the domestic bid very strong, valuations are relatively elevated. I wouldn't say they're extreme, but they're relatively elevated. We expect foreigners to be very engaged in the Indian market this year. Over time, it's on its way to being the largest market in EM. And that means global investors are going to pay a lot more attention to India than they have in the past.
Well, that's a positive outlook on India, despite the fact that we've seen FIIs selling over the last few trading sessions. On to the money market action. After days of continuous decline, the rupee edged higher against the dollar in today's trade, and this was largely on account of a fall in the dollar index. However, $1 US still costs more than 86 rupees. As per dealers, that is the dollar rupee for you. Now, as per dealers, speculative traders unwound their long dollar positions to book profit. The Indian currency got some reassurance as the Indonesian rupiah remained steady, even as the country cut interest rates in the face of a strengthening dollar. Dealers said that boosted confidence that the RBI too can cut rates. In fact, speaking to CNBC-TV18, JP Morgan's Jahangir Aziz said he expects the RBI to cut rates by 100 basis points in 2025. He also believes that the US dollar has so far priced in only 6 to 7% of the potential tariff increase by the US, and this could add more pressure on the rupee. Take a look.
Any kind of FX arithmetic, if you break it down between the growth differential between US and the rest of the world, the interest rate differential, even after, especially after the change in the Fed call that we have done after the non-farm payroll came out last week, if you take those two factors, which are the usual drivers of dollar strength, At best, you can say that the market is pricing in maybe 6-7% of tariff increase. That's the extreme. So the tariff right now is about 2.3%, right? So 2.3%, you add about 6-7%, that's about all that the dollar is pricing in at this point in time. It could easily be significantly larger than that.
Well, that's Jahangir Aziz saying he expects the Reserve Bank to actually cut rates in February and do 100 basis points in terms of cuts through 2025. Here's all the action from the commodity markets. Oil prices rising, trimming yesterday's losses. And this as the focus is back to potential supply disruptions from sanctions on Russian tankers. However, the gains were capped as the market waits for more clarity on the impact. Now, India's trade deficit has declined to a 3-month low in December, according to the Commerce Ministry's data. Export remained largely steady at just over $38 billion. This is a marginal decline year on year. Imports stood just under $60 billion, leaving the overall deficit at under $22 billion. However, the trade deficit is up 14% in the first 9 months of this financial year. 5 days before he takes office as U.S. President, Donald Trump has announced the creation of an external revenue service to collect tariffs from foreign countries. In a social media post, Trump said the agency would take effect on the day he assumes office, which will be the 20th of January. He also said the new organization will make sure all nations finally pay their fair share. Back home, Aditya Birla Fashion's board has approved raising funds to the tune of 5,000 crore rupees. 2,500 crores will be raised via qualified institutional placement. The company will also issue preferential shares worth about 2,400 crores to promoter Pilani Investment and Fidelity Group. The fashion retail firm has said it will use the funds to pursue the growth ahead of its proposed vertical demerger into two separate listed entities. Minda Corporation's shares surging in trade after the company announced that it will acquire 49% stake in automotive product maker Flash Electronics. The acquisition will cost the auto component manufacturing company 1,372 crore rupees. The company said that the all-cash deal will be complete by the 31st of January. The National Asset Reconstruction Company has emerged as the sole bidder in the resolution process of bankrupt Jaiprakash Associates. Now, this company was admitted at the bankruptcy court last year, facing claims from 22 lenders. The NARCL has made a 12,000 crore rupee offer, which includes 15% payment of cash upfront. The company is facing total claims of more than 52,000 crore rupees. Another exclusive tonight, Tata Power is likely to have submitted bids to acquire a majority stake in two state-run power distribution companies in UP. The state government invited bids earlier this week. Vivek standing by now with more. Vivek, tell us more about the privatization of the two UP discoms.
Well, that's right. So it's an important development as far as the entire power sector is concerned. Privatization of discoms, something that's been the ask of both the discoms, power financiers, as well as private utility players, is back in focus. On January 12th, the UP state actually went ahead and invited tenders. This is to go ahead and call for transaction advisors to help in PPP JVs or in the privatization of discoms. Now, out of the 5 discoms that the UP state government holds, they have invited bids for 2 of these 5 discoms. And what we understand from our sources is that Tata Power is interested, evinced interest, also looking to go ahead and submit bids as far as acquiring these particular discoms are concerned. Now, how will this particular PPP JV work? 49% will continue to be held by the UP state government or the discom. Another 51% will be held by the eventual winner of the entire bidding process. So 51% part of the JV will be held by the private utility player. So an important development. It's a development that will most likely take quite a bit of time to fructify, given the fact that this is a sensitive topic, especially in terms of both unions as well as enough votes coming through for going ahead and getting votes on board for the entire privatization process. It's an important development in the power space, and we'll keep track of this particular development. We reached out to Tata Power at this point of time. They haven't given us any comments yet.
All right, Vivek, many thanks for joining us. Now, the $235 million security breach at WazirX has now been linked to Lazarus Group, which is a North Korean hacking organization. US, Japan and South Korea have released a joint statement confirming that the group orchestrated the cyber attack on the Indian cryptocurrency exchange in July of 2024. Responding to the statement, WazirX founder Nishchal Shetty urged swift international action and support to recover the stolen assets. So this was rumored, but today it is official, with 3 countries, the US, Japan and South Korea, linking North Korea to the attack on WazirX. The UN Secretary for Electronics and IT says critical equipment meant for manufacturing in India by global companies like Foxconn is being held up at Chinese ports for several months. Speaking at the AI Forward, a joint initiative by CNBC-TV18 and EY, S. Krishnan said that electronic industry is not facing any impact of production just yet, but he did warn that any further disruption in procuring the key components could jeopardize production and expansion plans. Take a look.
This is what companies are telling us, that export of capital goods in some senses is getting constrained, and so far, I mean, the issue on visas and so on is that there's a process of approval of visas for people coming from China, which we are following. Companies are telling us that they sense certain restrictions being placed on them.
And at the same event, EY released a report on the adoption of artificial intelligence across India, Inc. The report says AI is set to impact 38 million employees in the organized sector by 2030. EY expects a productivity boost of more than 5% in the next 5 years. The productivity in organized sector is likely to improve by over 2.6%, and in the unorganized sector could see a boost of over 2.8%. MeitY Secretary Krishnan said the government has received overwhelming response from the private sector to set up graphic processing units and promised several AI initiatives in 2025.
In 2025, I think there's a fair amount of work which needs to happen in the AI mission, and this would probably be the most exciting year. I already mentioned briefly about what is happening on the AI compute story. That RFP has done well, and that would be a rolling sort of process where every 3 to 6 months we will keep adding newer companies who come in and newer capacity which comes on stream. And we'll keep updating it.
How much capacity will we have on stream in terms of compute in 2025?
As I told you that the initial offer from the 19 companies put together is north of 20,000 GPUs. This year, this calendar year, is going to be the year where a lot of these initiatives under the India AI mission, you will see the maturation process and you will see them actually in full-blown action.
Well, that's the MeitY Secretary S. Krishnan there. On to the electric vehicle space. TVS Motors is ahead of Bajaj Auto in the electric scooter race in the first 15 days of the new year. Ola Electric remains in the third place as it continues to lose market share. The EV company has now announced fresh discounts to bolster its sales. Parikshit is standing by now with more details. Parikshit, it's obviously fiercely competitive in the EV space at this point in time, but Ola announcing fresh discounts ostensibly to try and stem the market share fall.
By all accounts, 2025 will be an inflection point for electric vehicles in India. And as you rightly said, Ola Electric has been losing market share, not just since last month, but since April last year. At the start of 2024, they had almost a 52% market share, and that has significantly dropped now. Let me just talk about what they've sold in the month of January. They've sold 6,655 electric scooters in the first 15 days of January 2025. Their market share has dropped to 18%. Ola Electric has also launched a 72-hour discount offer between the 12th and the 14th of January. They're offering the S1 scooter at 60,000 rupees with a 24,000 rupee discount offer and extended battery warranty as well. TVS Motor Company sold 9,800 units. Bajaj Auto sold 8,694 units in January 2025 so far, and they occupied the top 2 positions. The market share of both companies, that is TVS, is about 23% and Bajaj Auto is about 25%. So that's a total market share of about 48% with just these 2 EV players. Ather Electric sold 5,360 units in January and has gained market share by 0.6%. Ather's market share currently stands at 14.2%. For some time in January, Ather and Ola were also neck to neck. Now, overall, in December, Bajaj Auto sold 17,431 units in December with a 25% market share, and TVS sold 16,301 units with a 23% market share. So for 2 months now, we're seeing both TVS and Bajaj Auto lead the EV race. Ola Electric was number 3 with a 19% market share and 13,000 vehicles sold. But overall, in calendar year 2024, Ola Electric was at the top spot at 4 lakh units with a 52% year-on-year growth, but impressive growth from both TVS and Bajaj Auto, which are now in the process of ramping up their electric vehicle production and getting new models to the market. And we'll see some of that in the Auto Expo as well. TVS was a close second at 2.2 lakh units and Bajaj Auto at 1.93 lakh units.
All right, Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. We will head to a break. But up next, U.S. securities market regulator sues Elon Musk for failing to properly disclose his Twitter ownership. That and more when we return. You're watching Business 360. Israeli forces have stepped up their attacks on Gaza, bombing a school turned shelter and several homes across the Strip. At least 24 people have died in the region today. This as hopes of a ceasefire in Gaza rise. Negotiators say that Israel and Hamas are at the closest point to strike a deal. Israel's foreign affairs minister said that a majority in the country's government will be in support of a deal that involves the release of hostages. But he also added that Israel is not in favor of creating a Palestinian state.
I believe that if we will achieve this hostage deal, we will have a majority in the government that will support the agreement. In the current situation, establishing a Palestinian state will surely be a Hamas state. There is a reason why the Palestinian Authority didn't handle or didn't make elections since 2005, already for 20 years.
Meanwhile, in the U.S., outgoing Secretary of State Anthony Blinken was interrupted by pro-Palestine supporters in his farewell address. Blinken was elaborating on the Biden administration's roadmap for post-war management of Gaza when protesters heckled him.
You have the blood of hundreds of thousands of innocent people on your hands. We have spent
Thank you. I respect your views. Please allow me to share mine. Thank you.
Appeal to your humanity.
For over 450 days, Israel has committed genocide against the Palestinian people. We have sent over $25 billion to Israel.
How do you do all that and then sit here and tell these people, civilized people, that you are doing what? Kill, your policy for the Middle East. Kill.
Ukraine has launched its largest missile and drone attacks on Russian territory since the start of the war. The Ukrainian military reportedly hit the Russian towns of Saratov and Engels with 140 drones. Russia said it would retaliate to the large-scale air attack. The country's defense ministry also said its troops captured 2 Ukrainian settlements in the Donetsk region. Impeached South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has been arrested by law enforcement officials. Yoon has become the first incumbent president in the country's history to be taken into custody. The arrest followed a failed attempt earlier this month. This came as Yoon faces charges of imposing martial law for a brief period last month. His arrest represented a dramatic escalation in the political turmoil that's gripped South Korea since his impeachment. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is suing the world's largest man, Elon Musk, over his alleged failure to properly disclose his stake in Twitter. The lawsuit claimed that Musk cheated Twitter shareholders out of more than $150 million by buying shares at low prices before the acquisition and delaying the disclosures.
Elon Musk was sued on Tuesday by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The SEC accused the world's richest person of waiting too long to disclose in 2022 he had amassed a large stake in Twitter, the social media company he later bought and renamed X. An SEC rule requires investors to disclose within 10 days when they cross a threshold of owning 5% or more of a company. The agency said that at the expense of unsuspecting investors, Musk instead waited 21 days to disclose his initial purchase of 5% of Twitter's common shares at artificially low prices. The SEC said Twitter's share price then rose more than 27% once Musk disclosed his stake. Tuesday's lawsuit seeks to force Musk to pay a civil fine and give up, quote, unjust profits. Alex Spiro, a lawyer for Musk, called the suit the culmination of the regulator's, quote, multi-year campaign of harassment against his client. He added the lawsuit addresses a mere, quote, alleged administrative failure to file a single form, an offense that, even if proven, carries a nominal penalty. The filing against Musk comes 6 days before Trump's January 20th inauguration, when SEC Chair Gary Gensler will step down. Trump's nomination to succeed him, Paul Atkins, is expected to review many of Gensler's rules and enforcement actions.
Well, that's Elon Musk being sued by the US SEC. In national news, Prime Minister Modi commissioned 3 Navy warships at the Mumbai dockyard today. This is the first time in India's history that a destroyer, a frigate and a submarine, which have been made in India, have been commissioned together. Speaking at the event, the Prime Minister said India is becoming a major maritime power. Aam Aadmi Party National Convener Arvind Kejriwal has filed his nomination papers for the upcoming assembly elections from the New Delhi constituency. Kejriwal will face the sons of 2 former Delhi CMs, Sandeep Dixit of the Congress Party and Parvesh Verma of the BJP. Ahead of filing his nomination, Kejriwal led a march along with his party supporters and visited Hanuman Temple. Delhi will go to the polls on the 5th of February. And speaking of Kejriwal, the Home Affairs Ministry has granted its approval to the Enforcement Directorate to prosecute Arvind Kejriwal and former Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia in the excise policy case. The ED can now frame charges against the two under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. The ministry's decision followed the Delhi Lieutenant Governor V.K. Saxena's approval. The Congress Party has moved to a new office after 47 years. Congress leaders Sonia Gandhi and Mallikarjun Kharge inaugurated the new headquarters, Indira Gandhi Bhavan at Kotla Road in New Delhi today. The previous headquarters at 24 Akbar Road in Lutyens, Delhi had become synonymous with the party. It became the Congress office when Indira Gandhi sought a new political base in the wake of the emergency. Speaking at the inauguration, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi slammed RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat for saying that India got true independence after the consecration of the Ram temple in Ayodhya.
Mohan Bhagwat has the audacity to inform the nation every 2 or 3 days what he thinks about the independent movement, what he thinks about the constitution. In fact, what he has said yesterday is treason, because it is stating that the constitution is invalid. It is stating that everything, the fight against the British was invalid. And he has the audacity to say this publicly.
Residents of the Delhi NCR woke up to dense fog blanketing the city today. Over 200 flights were delayed at the Delhi airport due to zero visibility. According to flight radar, as many as 18 flights were cancelled. Nearly 300 flights departed with an average delay time of 45 minutes. 26 trains bound for Delhi were also running late. The Met has issued an orange warning for the city. Meta India has apologized for Mark Zuckerberg's comments during a podcast where he said several incumbent governments, including the one in India, lost the elections in 2024. The Meta CEO had attributed the losses to citizens losing trust in incumbent governments due to their poor handling of the pandemic. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav had slammed Zuckerberg for spreading, in his words, misinformation. In a tweet addressed to Vaishnav, Shivnath Thukral, Meta India's Vice President of Public Policy, apologized for the comments and called it an inadvertent error. The apology comes after BJP MP Nishikant Dubey said the Parliamentary panel on communication and information technology would summon Meta over Zuckerberg's comments. Dubey is the chairman of the committee. Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue on CNBC-TV18. Stay right there. We're back in a moment.